Shock. I was quietly sitting with my 10-year-old granddaughter at my daughter's second wedding when she suddenly hugged me and whispered, "Grandpa, let's get out of here." She said she found out something very bad about Mom's new groom and opened my eyes. You won't believe what happened next. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. The study door slammed against the wall. Nicholas stood there, my late wife's insurance papers in his meaty hands, the property deed spread across my desk like he owned the place already. I froze in the doorway, watching him examine Margaret's death certificate with the intensity of an appraiser evaluating merchandise. "These documents are private." My voice came out steadier than my arthritic hands, which clenched despite the shooting pain. Nicholas didn't even look up. "Just getting familiar with the family assets, Horace. This house alone must be worth, what, 800,000? Prime Oak Park real estate." His fingers traced the deed's edges, leaving smudges on the pristine paper. Catherine's heels clicked down the hallway. She appeared beside me, immediately moving toward Nicholas, not me. "Dad, what's wrong now?" The question carried that familiar exhaustion, like I was the problem. Her new dress swished, silk, designer label visible, another gift from him. The engagement ring caught the light as she touched his arm, the diamond so large it looked fake. "Your father's upset I'm taking interest in family matters." Nicholas finally looked at me, his smile not reaching those calculating eyes. He moved to block the doorway, forcing me to squeeze past him to enter my own study. The overwhelming cologne couldn't mask something else. Stale cigarettes, sweat, something predatory. At dinner, my pot roast grew cold while Nicholas dominated every conversation. "When Catherine and I merge households, we'll need to discuss renovations. This place has potential, but it's stuck in the past." He cut me off mid-sentence about Margaret's garden plans, his fingers drumming against the table with impatience. Catherine poured her third glass of wine, not meeting my eyes. "The dining room alone could be opened up, walls knocked down, better flow for entertaining." Nicholas gestured broadly, nearly knocking over the water pitcher. "Of course, that's assuming you're still around to see it, old-timer." Catherine laughed. Too bright, too forced. "Nicholas, stop." But she didn't mean it. After dinner, I headed back to my study for my heart medication. Nicholas stood in the hallway, deliberately blocking the path. "Excuse me," I said. "You're excused." He didn't move. I tried to step around him. His hand shot out, palm flat against my chest, and shoved. Not hard enough to leave marks, but deliberate, purposeful. My back hit the wall, my hand scrambling for balance against the wainscoting. Catherine stood at the hall's end, saw everything, then turned toward the kitchen. "Catherine, I need to speak with you." I followed her, my hip protesting from the impact. She spun around before I could warn her properly. "I know what you're going to say. You don't like him. You didn't like James either. You don't like anyone I choose." The wine made her words sharper. "This jealousy, this pattern of trying to control my life. I'm 42 years old, Dad. This isn't about. I'm happy. Finally happy. Why can't you just be supportive for once?" She grabbed her purse from the counter, storms past me. Through the doorway, Nicholas's smirk spread like oil across water. The front door slammed. Their car roared to life, tires squealing slightly as they pulled away. I stood in my empty house, the floorboards creaking under my weight as I moved to the window. My hand found my phone in my pocket. I could call someone, but who? The police? And say what? That my daughter's fiancé pushed an old man? I set the phone down. The insurance papers were still scattered across my desk, Margaret's photo from the certificate staring up at me. Her intuition had always been better than mine. If she were here, she'd already know what Nicholas was. But she wasn't here, and I had to figure this out alone. The study felt violated, his presence lingering like a stain. I gathered the papers, returned them to the safe, but the damage was done. He'd seen enough. The house value, the insurance policies, the investment accounts referenced in the documents. Nicholas Harlan had taken inventory, and I was watching Catherine become his next acquisition. My medication bottle rattled as I opened it, hands trembling not from age but from rage. How many times could I fail to protect my daughter? With James, I'd ignored the signs. Now they were flashing neon, and Catherine had wrapped herself in willful blindness. Tomorrow I'd need a better plan than confrontation. The Cloud Gate sculpture reflected hundreds of tourists, but I spotted Edith's red backpack immediately. She was running, unusual for my composed granddaughter. Her shoelace dragged behind her, backpack bouncing open, math textbook threatening to fall out. Other families drifted past us, normal grandmother picking up normal children, living normal lives we'd lost somewhere. Edith crashed into me, burying her face in my jacket, her arms wrapped around my waist, tighter than ever before, shoulders shaking. "Grandpa," just that word, muffled by fabric, but carrying weight that made my chest tighten. "Let's walk, sweetheart." I guided her away from the crowds, toward Crown Fountain. She gripped my hand with both of hers, knuckles white. Every few steps she glanced over her shoulder, searching for something, or someone. The pretzel vendor knew us. Same cart every week for 2 years. "The usual?" he asked. I nodded, paid, but Edith barely touched her favorite snack. The salt crystals fell onto the pavement as her hand trembled. An unexpected May wind cut through the park, and she shivered despite her school sweater. We found a bench near the fountain, water streaming down the LED faces. Edith dug into her pocket, producing a crumpled paper. Phone numbers in angular handwriting. Nicholas's handwriting. "I found this in Mom's office trash. He was on the phone last night with someone named Victor." Her voice cracked. "And before that, someone named Lena. They were talking about timeline and percentage and something about making her sign before she realizes." The paper shook in her small hands. 3 numbers, area codes I didn't recognize. "When did you—" "2 nights ago. Mom was at her book club. Nicholas didn't know I was home." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "He was in her office taking pictures of her folders. The ones about her company. The bank stuff she keeps locked up." "Edith, has he—" I chose words carefully. "Has he hurt your mother?" She pulled her knees to her chest. "He grabbed her wrist last week, during an argument about selling the house. I saw through the door crack. Mom had bruises the next day, but told me she bumped into something." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "He talks different when she leaves the room. Mean. Like we're problems to solve." The fountain's crowd cheered as water splashed down. Normal joy that felt obscene against Edith's tears. I handed her my handkerchief, the same one I'd carried since Margaret died, soft from years of washing. "He searches her things. I've seen him 3 times now. And there are calls late at night. Mom cries after, but pretends she's fine at breakfast." Edith wiped her nose. "Last night I heard him say something about, 'The old man's house will cover the rest.'" My spine straightened. "The rest of what?" "Grandpa, you have to protect us. Mom won't listen to me. She says I'm imagining things, that I don't understand adult relationships." She grabbed my hand again. "But I understand when someone's being hurt. I understand when someone's planning something bad. I promise you, Edith, I'll protect you both." The words came out solid, certain, even as my mind raced through possibilities. "Can you stay with me tonight? Please." So quiet I barely heard it over the fountain. We walked toward the parking lot, her hand still in mine. I texted Catherine, "Edith's spending the night. School project?" No response. Above us, clouds gathered, threatening rain that would match the storm building in my chest. In the car, Edith fell asleep almost immediately, exhausted from carrying adult fears in a child's heart. The paper with phone numbers burned in my pocket. Victor, Lena. Were they family? Associates? I'd find out. My granddaughter had been collecting evidence in her 10-year-old way, protecting her mother despite Catherine's blindness. Now it was my turn. Rain began as we reached Oak Park, droplets racing down the windshield like Edith's tears. She stirred, but didn't wake, mumbling something about keeping Mommy safe. I'd failed Catherine once with James. This time would be different. This time I had warning. This time I had proof. Nicholas Harlan had made a mistake. He'd frightened a child, and that child had told someone who'd spent 40 years in construction, where problems got solved with careful planning and solid foundations. Red light stretched forever at North Avenue. Edith slept in the back seat, her breathing steady. The color triggered memory, Catherine's bouquet roses, deep red against white silk, that June afternoon 7 years ago. The church on Washington Street materialized in my mind, and I was there again, in the bride's room, watching my daughter transform into someone's wife. Catherine's hand shook as I adjusted her veil. "Do I look okay, Dad?" The question of a little girl playing dress-up, not a 35-year-old woman about to marry. Through the door crack, James paced the hallway, phone pressed to his ear, gesturing animatedly at someone I couldn't hear. "You look beautiful, Katie." Her childhood nickname slipped out. She smiled, but her fingers worried at the bouquet stems, shredding leaves onto the carpet. Margaret's voice echoed from that last month before cancer took her. "That James doesn't look at our daughter, Horace. He looks at what she has." I'd been organizing her medications, dismissing concerns as morphine-induced paranoia. "Mark my words," she'd whispered. "He's calculating something." But I'd convinced myself Margaret was wrong. People in pain see darkness everywhere. The processional music started. Catherine's grip on my arm tightened enough to wrinkle my jacket. The 100-year-old church stretched before us, afternoon light painting rainbows through stained glass across the aisle. James waited at the altar, and when Catherine appeared, his expression shifted, satisfaction spreading across his features, like he'd just closed a business deal. Every step felt wrong. Catherine's fingers dug deeper into my arm. When we reached James, I had to physically place her hand in his, her reluctance so strong I nearly pulled her back. But I didn't. I gave my daughter to a man whose eyes were already calculating property values. The reception blurred past, James's best man joking about hitting the jackpot, Catherine's forced laughter, James's parents cornering me by the bar. Margaret left Catherine quite an inheritance, didn't she? Smart of James to wait until after. They'd stopped, realizing their mistake. Then by the bathroom, James, on his phone again. "Investments secured. Just need to wait the appropriate time before liquidation." I'd convinced myself he meant his actual job, not my daughter's trust fund. Green light, present crashed back. We were home, my Oak Park driveway dark except for the porch light I'd left on. Edith stirred but didn't wake as I lifted her from the car. She weighed nothing, just like Catherine at 10, carried inside after late nights at the construction sites, where I'd bring her during summer breaks. But the weight of responsibility, that had multiplied exponentially. Edith's arms wrapped around my neck instinctively. "Don't let him hurt Mommy," she mumbled into my shoulder, still asleep, still trusting I could fix this. "Never," I whispered to my granddaughter, to Margaret's memory, to the ghost of my younger self who'd handed Catherine over to James, despite every instinct, screaming, "Stop." My phone buzzed. Catherine. "How dare you take my daughter without permission? This is kidnapping. Nicholas is driving me over right now to get her." I carried Edith inside, her school uniform rough against my arms. The same arms that had walked Catherine down that aisle, that had failed to pull her back from James, that had taken 2 years to extract her from that marriage. James had only wanted money. The bruise on Catherine's wrist, the fear in Edith's eyes. Nicholas wanted more than that. The front door locked with a solid click. Let them come. This time, I wouldn't hand over anything. This time, I'd learned that mothers' intuitions outlive them, that daughters' blindness could be willful, and that sometimes a grandfather's promise to a sleeping child meant war. Nicholas Harlan had revealed himself as more dangerous than James ever was. James was a thief. Nicholas was something worse, the kind of predator who enjoyed the hunt as much as the prize. But predators make mistakes when they underestimate their prey. I settled Arath into the guest room, Margaret's old sewing room now bright with spare blankets, and the stuffed elephant she'd forgotten last visit. My phone buzzed again. They were 5 minutes away. Time to prepare for a different kind of storm. Steam curled from the hot chocolate, and suddenly I was back in Catherine's apartment 3 years ago, watching different steam rise from coffee neither of us could drink. The memory hit as Edith worked on her math homework, her pencil scratching angrily across Nicholas's name she'd written in the margin. "Grandpa, what's 12 times 8? Her voice pulled me partially back. 96, sweetheart. But I was already slipping into that March night in 2022. Catherine's door had been ajar at 2 a.m., wrong in every way. Inside, chaos. James's suits flung across furniture, wedding albums torn apart on the floor. Catherine sat in the wreckage, her face swollen from crying. 7-year-old Edith crouched behind the couch, teddy bear pressed to her chest, trying to disappear. "Mom won't stop crying," present-day Edith said, abandoning her homework entirely. "Will she cry again like last time?" Last time. The words pulled me between timelines. In 2022, I'd spent hours folding James's clothes while Catherine raged about trust funds emptied, jewelry stolen, even gifts from Margaret gone. Little Edith had helped, placing shoes in boxes with heartbreaking precision, asking why Daddy took her favorite book but left all her drawings behind. Now, older Edith stood at the bathroom sink. Toothbrush paused mid-stroke. "He's planning something worse than Daddy did, isn't he?" I couldn't lie to those eyes. Margaret's eyes, somehow. "We'll protect Mom." The legal documents James had left in 2022, marked with sticky notes about asset division, had shown his calculated cruelty. $50,000 vanished from Catherine's business account. The lawyer's warning about gambling debts. Catherine refusing therapy, insisting she was fine. "Time for bed," I said, guiding Edith to Benjamin's old room. She gripped my hand as I tucked her in. "I heard Nicholas on the phone tonight," she whispered. "He said, the old man won't be a problem much longer." My blood chilled, but I kept my face calm, smoothing her hair like I had that night in 2022 when she'd padded out in pajamas, curling against me on Catherine's couch. "Will Daddy come back?" she'd asked then. Now she asked nothing, just held my hand until sleep took her. At my computer, I searched Nicholas Harlan, Chicago. Nothing official appeared. Too clean, deliberately scrubbed. My finger hovered over Catherine's contact. 11 p.m. blinked on the screen. A creak made me turn. Edith stood in the doorway, Margaret's handkerchief clutched in her small fist. "Grandpa, I remembered something else. Victor and Lena, I heard Nicholas say they're his brother and sister, and they've done this before. You're poisoning her mind against him." Catherine's wine sloshed as she paced her apartment, those designer heels Nicholas bought, clicking like a countdown. I'd been here 10 minutes, and already she'd moved our family photo behind their engagement portrait. "Edith's scared, Catherine. She heard what you wanted her to hear." Catherine snatched the paper with phone numbers from my hand, the one Edith had saved. Her lawyer's eye scanned it before she laughed. Sharp, bitter. "You coached my daughter to spy, used her against me?" The wineglass slammed down. The stem cracked but held. "He pushed me, Catherine. He grabbed your wrist hard enough to bruise." Her face flushed. "Nicholas gets passionate. That's what real men do. They feel things. Not everyone processes emotion by building walls and staying silent like you did when Mom died." The accusation stung because it was partially true, but this wasn't about my grief. "Your mother would have seen through him immediately." "Don't." Catherine's voice went deadly quiet. "Don't you dare invoke her. You opposed James, opposed my career, opposed everything. Benjamin fled to Seattle because of your controlling nature, and now you're trying to destroy the first real happiness I've had since James stole $50,000. Since you let me marry him." The words exploded out. Where was this protection then? Where was this concern when I actually needed it? Through the kitchen doorway, I spotted Nicholas's things already colonizing the space. Expensive watch on the counter, suits in the closet. A new security panel blinked by the door. Catherine's workspace had been transformed. Business files boxed up. Desk cleared like she was already surrendering her independence. "He's isolating you. Can't you see?" "What I see is a father who can't let go. Nicholas warned me about this. He said you'd escalate, that you're showing signs of decline." She touched her engagement ring obsessively, twisting it. "Maybe it's time we discussed assisted living." The threat landed like ice water. "You'd put me in a home?" "I'd do what's best for everyone." She moved to the door, and I saw building security in the hallway watching. "Choose, Dad. Come to the wedding and be supportive, or never see Edith again." She ripped the paper into pieces, throwing them at me. They fluttered down like snow, like the fragments of her first wedding photos 3 years ago. In the elevator, security escorted me out. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Stop interfering, old man, or accidents happen." The elevator doors closed on my reflection. An old man clutching paper scraps, looking exactly as helpless as Nicholas wanted me to appear. But looking helpless and being helpless were different things entirely. Edith's flower girl dress was too tight around her shoulders. Catherine hadn't noticed she'd grown. In the Palmer House hotel bathroom, I adjusted the sash while she stared at the mirror with hollow eyes. I don't want to carry the flowers. She crushed a rose petal between her fingers, watching it bruise. Through the door, Nicholas's laugh boomed across the lobby. 2 weeks had passed since his threat, and I had chosen to attend, not from fear, but strategy. Sometimes you had to walk into the trap to spring it. The hallway teemed with uncomfortable relatives. Aunt Martha whispered to her husband about unseemly haste. Nicholas's family clustered near the ballroom entrance, all wearing identical expensive watches, speaking in low voices. Victor and Lana flanked the doorway like sentries, their resemblance to Nicholas unmistakable now. Incompetent fossil, Nicholas's voice carried as he berated an elderly server who'd brushed his shoulder. This is a private event, not a retirement home activity. Guests pretended not to notice. Catherine materialized in the doorway, radiant in white but gaunt underneath. She laughed at Nicholas's cruelty, nervous, automatic. Our eyes met for a heartbeat before she turned away. The ceremony unfolded like a fever dream. Edith scattered petals mechanically while Nicholas checked his phone at the altar. The minister spoke about trust and honesty while my jaw ached from clenching. Catherine's voice wavered during vows. Nicholas emphasized sharing everything we have, with a predator's smile. Their kiss was aggressive, possessive. Catherine's eyes squeezed shut like she was enduring it. At cocktail hour, Nicholas double-fisted drinks, voice growing louder with each glass. Red wine splashed across Aunt Martha's dress, clearly deliberate despite Nicholas's smirk. "Should watch where you're standing," he said, not even pretending to apologize. Edith pressed against my side. "Grandpa, I saw him put papers in Mom's purse earlier when she was getting ready." In the corner, Nicholas huddled with Victor and Lena, pulling documents from his jacket. I drifted toward a flower arrangement, catching fragments. "Monday morning, bank transfer, custody papers ready." Victor's nervous foot tapped. "What about the old man problem?" Nicholas laughed. "After tonight, he'll be completely discredited. Lena's been documenting everything." The photographer called for family photos. Nicholas gripped Edith's shoulder for the unity shot, his fingers digging in until her eyes watered. "Smile," he hissed when the photographer looked away. "You're ruining my perfect day." Edith broke free, her dress catching on a chair, tearing. She ran to me as the band announced the first dance. The lights dimmed. Catherine moved toward Nicholas like a sleepwalker. "Grandpa, now, please." Tears rolled down Edith's cheeks. The music swelled, their song, whatever it was, drowning out thought. But in the shadows behind the gift table, I saw Lena photographing us, documenting an old man and crying child, building a case. Edith pulled me toward the service corridor, away from the music. We needed to move. Now. Edith's torn dress caught on another chair as she dragged me through the crowd. Wedding guests parted, confused, as a flower girl pulled her grandfather past the kitchen doors. Staff members glanced up from their trays. The reception music faded with each step deeper into the service corridor. She finally stopped near an emergency exit, its red glow painting her tear-stained face crimson. Petals from her basket littered our path like breadcrumbs. My knees protested as I knelt to her height, but her trembling made the pain irrelevant. "In the bathroom?" Her words tumbled out in fragments. I was hiding in the stall because my stomach hurt, and Uncle Victor came in with Nicholas. Her small hands recreated the scene, showing how she'd pulled her feet up. They didn't know I was there. My engineering mind began assembling pieces. What did they say? "Monday morning, 9 o'clock. Mom has to sign something at a bank." She pulled crumpled paper from her dress pocket. Nicholas's handwriting. Numbers, routing codes, dates. He said something about foster care. That means I'd go away, doesn't it? Like Sarah from school when her parents... No. I kept my voice steady despite my spiking blood pressure. That won't happen. He said you're too old to fight him. That by Monday you'll be in a home, and Mom will be somewhere else, and I'll be with strangers. Fresh tears spilled. He laughed when he said it. The paper in my hand showed more than a child could understand. Wire transfer amounts, offshore account numbers. But Edith had understood enough. She'd been collecting evidence for weeks with the dedication of a 10-year-old detective. Her phone appeared, showing blurry photos of documents from Nicholas's briefcase. I took these when he was yelling at Mom, and these when he left his laptop open. Screen after screen of evidence collected by a frightened child, trying to protect her mother. Mom gave me this phone for emergencies. This is an emergency, right? Yes, sweetheart. This is exactly that. She sobbed fully then, asking the question I dreaded. Will Mommy disappear like Daddy did? No. I pulled her close, feeling her whole body shake. I promise. You fixed our sink when it broke. You built my treehouse in one weekend. She pulled back, looking at me with Margaret's eyes. Such faith, it crushed me. You can fix this too. Nicholas's laughter boomed from the reception. Edith flinched, pressing closer. My phone showed 4:42 p.m. She whispered, They said 7 o'clock for something important. That's soon. Voices approached. Nicholas calling for Edith, demanding more photos. I stood, decision crystallizing. Edith grabbed my hand, her grip desperate. What do we do? The men's bathroom door stood 10 feet away. First, I said, spotting a large potted plant where she could hide but watch. We get proof. I positioned Edith behind the massive fern, her white dress barely visible through the fronds. My phone already recording in my shirt pocket, I pushed through the bathroom door. Empty. But not for long. Nicholas's voice boomed closer, Victor's nervous laugh following. I entered the farthest stall, standing on the toilet, knees screaming. Through the gap above the partition, I positioned my phone. They entered like they owned the place. Nicholas checked, under stalls, while Victor locked the main door. Paranoid much? Victor asked. Careful. Nicholas washed his hands, examining his reflection. Monday timeline is critical. 9 a.m. Catherine signs the transfers, thinking it's for the honeymoon property. Noon, documents get planted in her office. 3 p.m., anonymous IRS tip goes out. What about contingencies? Lena has duplicates of everything. Friend at child services is ready. One call and the kids in emergency custody. Catherine already signed the papers. Thought she was being romantic, giving me power of attorney for our new life together. His laugh echoed off tiles. $3.2 million for the firm, another $800K in her portfolio, house equity, $450. We'll be in Costa Rica by July. Victor's shoe tapped nervously. The old man? After tonight, everyone will know he's losing it. Already told Catherine's friends about his episodes. If he keeps pushing... Nicholas's voice dropped. Construction accident. Old men fall off ladders all the time, especially ones who spent 40 years on job sites. My hand trembled. The phone nearly slipped. Like Denver? Victor asked. Patricia. Same setup. She's doing 15 to 20 now. Nicholas dried his hands. Though she was smarter than Catherine, at least she questioned things before signing. A sound escaped me. Knee buckling, foot scraping. Both men froze. Footsteps approached my stall. The handle rattled. I held my breath. Phone still recording. Nicholas's breathing was audible through the door. Probably that drunk uncle. They left slowly, their voices fading. I waited a full minute before moving. The recording showed 4 minutes, 37 seconds of clear audio. I uploaded it to cloud storage, emailed Benjamin, drafted a message to Detective Morrison, an old friend from Margaret's accident investigation. Edith stood exactly where I'd left her, relief flooding her features. Did you get it? I nodded, checking the time. 4:52 p.m. Grandpa, she pointed toward the reception. Mommy's looking for you. Catherine approached with Nicholas behind her, his hand possessively on her shoulder, her face flushed with anger, wedding dress swishing. I palmed my phone as Edith squeezed my hand in warning. What are you doing? Catherine's first words were already accusatory. Skulking around corridors with my daughter? Catherine dragged me into an empty conference room, her grip surprisingly strong. Nicholas followed, closing the door on Edith's frightened face. You're ruining everything, Catherine's voice cracked. Traumatizing Edith, creeping around like some stalker. The staff told me you were in the bathroom for 10 minutes. What were you doing? Nicholas stood behind her, hand on her shoulder, that satisfied smirk spreading. I tried to speak, but Catherine steamrolled forward. You hate that I'm happy. You hated James. You hate Nicholas. You'd hate anyone who... Patricia, in Denver. I watched Nicholas's face change, just a flicker before his mask returned. What? Catherine paused. Your father's been researching me online. Nicholas's voice oozed concern, creating fantasies. Catherine, I think we need to discuss his mental state. I pulled out my phone. I have a recording. Catherine snatched at it. Nicholas accidentally knocked it from my hands. The phone skittered across the floor, my arthritis preventing quick retrieval. Nicholas stepped on it while helping, the screen cracking audibly. "You're recording us?" Catherine's face went white. "Have you completely lost your mind?" "Dr. Morrison?" Nicholas produced a business card. "Geriatric psychiatrist, friend of mine. I think an evaluation might be necessary. This paranoid behavior, following people, secret recordings, frightening children." Catherine nodded slowly. "He has been forgetting things. Last week he called me Margaret." I hadn't. Never once. "The papers you signed," I started. "The honeymoon surprise you're trying to ruin?" She laughed bitterly. "Nicholas warned me you'd escalate. I didn't want to believe it. You're banned from the reception." Her voice turned cold, Margaret's warmth completely gone. "Security will escort you out. If you don't leave quietly, Judge Harrison is here. He'll sign a restraining order tonight." Nicholas leaned close. "Already asked security to monitor for disruptions. Your granddaughter stays here." I retrieved my phone, screen cracked but functional. The recording remained intact. Catherine opened the door where a security guard waited. Edith stood in the hallway, tears streaming. "Mommy, please." "Not now, sweetheart." Catherine pulled Edith away as security approached. Nicholas leaned close enough that I smelled his cologne mixed with champagne. "7 o'clock, old man. Tick-tock." The security guard's hand found my elbow, firm but not rough. Through the doorway, the reception continued. Nicholas raising a toast glass, Catherine forcing a smile. My phone showed 5:08 p.m., less than 2 hours. A text buzzed through the cracked screen. "Unknown number? Nice try." The exit door loomed, but something caught my eye. The DJ booth, temporarily abandoned during dinner service. The laptop glowing, connected to the speaker system. The guard pushed the exit door open. Cool evening air hit my face, but my mind was already forming a plan. My hands found the mixer board with an engineer's certainty. 22 minutes circling through service corridors, and now the DJ's break gave me 3 minutes, maybe 4. The auxiliary cable clicked into my cracked phone's port. Master volume at 70%. Wireless microphone battery full. Guests noticed me but assumed authority. Confidence is its own credential. Catherine slow danced with Nicholas, her head on his shoulder, oblivious. By the dessert table, Edith's eyes found mine, hope flickering through tears. The feedback squeal cut through conversations. Perfect. "Ladies and gentlemen, forgive the interruption." My voice filled the ballroom. Nicholas spun, his face draining to paper white. Catherine lifted her head, confused. "I have a wedding gift for the happy couple. The truth about Nicholas Harlan." Security started moving, but Aunt Martha's walker blocked their path. "Let him speak." Others echoed agreement. They'd sensed the wrongness, too. "Edith, sweetheart, cover your ears. Count to 100. She obeyed instantly. Small hands pressed tight, eyes squeezed shut. Parents pulled their children close instinctively. "What you're about to hear is a recorded criminal conspiracy." I pressed play. Nicholas's voice flooded the ballroom through speakers worth more than my pension. Monday morning, 9 a.m., Catherine signs the transfers thinking it's for the honeymoon property. Noon, documents get planted. 3 p.m., anonymous IRS tip. Gas rippled through the crowd. Catherine's face transformed. Confusion, recognition, then pure horror. 3.2 million for the firm, 800K portfolio, house equity 450. Patricia, in Denver's doing 15 to 20 now. Nicholas lunged for the booth. Uncle Robert, Catherine's ex-Marine cousin, clotheslined him effortlessly. The recording continued. "Old men fall off ladders all the time." Pandemonium. Phones emerged, recording everything. Someone shouted for police. The wedding photographer switched to documentary mode, capturing Nicholas pinned by groomsmen. Victor tried fleeing but hit a wall of wedding guests. Lena froze, mascara streaming. "It's edited!" Nicholas screamed. "Deep fakes! This is a setup!" Victor cracked. "Just stop, Nick. It's over. It's all over." Catherine approached me slowly, her wedding dress trailing like defeat. She pulled papers from her purse, the ones Nicholas had her sign, really reading them now. Power of attorney, asset transfer authorizations, blank documents with her signature. "You were going to destroy me?" Her voice carried in the sudden silence. "Take my daughter? Everything?" Nicholas reached for her. She backed away, revulsion replacing love. I was saving you both, I said simply. The first siren wailed outside. Nicholas's fist stopped mid-swing as 5 groomsmen grabbed him simultaneously. Professional restraint, like they'd waited for this. His Armani tore at the shoulder as he struggled. Just hold him steady, boys, Uncle Robert directed, calm as morning coffee. Victor tried reaching his brother, but Aunt Martha planted her walker firmly. Sit down, young man. The authorities will sort this out. Lena sobbed in a chair, her elaborate makeup creating dark rivers down her cheeks. Wedding guests formed a human wall, not aggressive, just impassable. Catherine grabbed her bouquet and hurled it at Nicholas. Then her ring, yanking so hard it scraped skin, leaving a red mark. 3 years recovering from James, and you're worse. You had my passwords, my signatures on blank papers. My trust, the slap echoed. The groomsmen let her through for that one moment. Nicholas's cheek reddened immediately. I'm documenting everything, the wedding photographer announced, camera clicking rapidly. A guest stepped forward. I'm an attorney. I'll witness any statements. Another man produced a badge. FBI, off duty. The Patricia Denver case is federal. We've been looking for connected cases. Nicholas's face at FBI was worth the entire horrible day. Victor immediately raised his hands. I'll cooperate fully. I have records, emails, everything. Shut up, Nicholas snarled. No, Nick, no more. 3 police units arrived. Officers entered carefully, assessing the controlled chaos. The lead officer recognized the FBI agent, getting a rapid briefing. I handed over my phone with the recording. Multiple guests offered their videos. This is entrapment, Nicholas shouted as handcuffs clicked. I want my lawyer. It's all true, officers, Victor said quietly. The plan, the previous victims, everything. I'm sorry. Catherine collapsed into my arms. First real hug in 3 years. Daddy, I'm so sorry, so blind. Just like with James, but worse. You're safe now. That's what matters. Edith ran to us, and we stood there, 3 generations embracing while police processed a crime scene that had been a wedding. Catherine, baby, you know I love you, Nicholas called as officers led him past the abandoned cake. You love my money, she replied flatly. You never even knew my middle name. The crowd actually applauded. Victor and Lena were cuffed next, heads down, designer shoes clicking against marble. The FBI agent handed me his card. Patricia sends her thanks from federal prison. She heard rumors about another attempt. You've helped multiple victims today. Police cars pulled away, lights painting the ballroom in alternating red and blue. Catherine surveyed the wreckage, overturned chairs, scattered flowers, an untouched feast. What do I do now? I took her hand. Edith took the other. Now we go home. We walked out past confused staff, leaving the ruins of a lie behind. We sat on the same bench where Edith had first warned me, still in our formal clothes but disheveled. The Crown Fountain misted in the evening breeze while normal families lived normal lives around our extraordinary collapse. Strawberry ice cream dripped down Edith's chin as she swung her legs, dress torn but spirit intact. Catherine spoke efficiently into her phone. Cancel everything. The honeymoon, the name change, all joint accounts. Yes, I'm certain. Grandpa, you're like the detective in my books, Edith announced. Except better because you're real. You gathered clues and saved everyone. You saved everyone, I corrected. You told the truth when nobody else would listen. Catherine ended her call, watching us. For the first time in years, she really saw us. The relationship she'd nearly destroyed. The father she'd pushed away. The daughter who'd fought for her. I knew something was wrong. Her voice came out raw. After James, I couldn't face another failure. So I gave Nicholas everything, passwords, access, trust, because fighting felt harder than surrendering. She wasn't asking forgiveness, just stating truth. I didn't offer empty comfort, just presence. The business is safe since he never got his Monday chance. Insurance will cover the legal fees. We'll have to testify, but Victor's cooperating fully. Lena, too. She attempted a smile. Edith, you can definitely wear your flower girl dress for Halloween. Can we have Sunday dinners? Edith asked suddenly. All 3 of us? Real family stuff, not pretend? Every Sunday, Catherine promised. And Grandpa will teach me more detective skills. If you'll teach me to pay attention, Catherine replied. The sun set over Lake Michigan, painting the water gold. Other families headed home, but we stayed. Edith fell asleep against my shoulder, exhausted from being brave. Catherine reached across her to squeeze my hand. Thank you for not giving up on us. Never could, never will. The city lights began twinkling. 3 generations on a bench, wedding clothes ruined, makeup smeared, hair destroyed, but together. Edith's sticky fingerprints linked us. Ice cream evidence of normal life returning. Not happily ever after, but honestly forward. Margaret would be proud. The fountain's mist caught the last sunlight, creating tiny rainbows. Sometimes the most beautiful things come after storms. Sometimes families are rebuilt from truth instead of pretense. Sometimes an old man's stubbornness saves everything. Edith stirred, mumbling about detective lessons. Catherine laughed. First genuine laugh in months. I held them both, my girls, my reasons for fighting. Tomorrow would bring lawyers and testimony and consequence. Tonight, we had ice cream and honesty and each other. It was enough. It was everything. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.